When we are in a state of despair, feeling small, hopeless, insignificant, we usually do not understand ourselves and what is driving us, and we do not get why we are the way we are. We fall into the spiral of judging ourselves, feeling like a failure, perceiving life as painful. Within this state, it's quite challenging to see through all the layers which might play into it. And you might just feel like drowning and giving in to the state. You might even think, this is it, I can't be helped. And I have to accept my fate the way it is. So often we nail ourselves down to labels or a certain identity, not aware how we are cementing the box we are sitting in, and not even considering that our mental and emotional state is not a fixated thing. We so often consider it as the ne plus ultra, a non-changeable status quo, which will haunt us until our life's end. Yet, it's essential to keep in mind, we were not created with it. It's something we took on. It's not our very fabric, our very essence, even if it might be the most dominant thing we perceive about ourselves, even if we firmly take it on as our identity. This broken state of ours is not us. It's just the shell. It is the remnant of a tumultuous past. Yet underneath this shell, there's this part of yours which is the actual you, the real deal. We just need to scrape the crust off a bit to see it. Oftentimes we have rarely even begun to meet ourselves. We have not even been on a date with ourselves and explored in deep moments, who is it that I actually am? Who am I if I'm not the label, the fixated box? And you might be very surprised and realize that all the labels barely even touch the real you. You're not the broken self that you identify with. And if you reflect back, you might even notice there are always glimpses of deeper truth knocking at your door, reminding you, no matter how shattered you are not your brokenness. And this inner truth of yours even knows there is a way back to wholeness. There's an internal wisdom which we usually ignore or sweep aside, but it knows. No matter how many fragments are spreading around you, they can all be brought back together again. And maybe not in a day or two. Maybe it takes a very determined journey of a lifetime. But seeing yourself picking up one piece at a time and knowing that it wants to come home, valuing yourself enough to go on this journey, will bring you back into a place you were actually longing for to find in the outside. But it can only be found inside yourself. And please do not misunderstand me in the way that I'm trying to tell you you are broken, you need to be fixed, you have to be unhappy with yourself. No. You are precious and a miracle itself. But there are parts of us which we had to abandon. And they might be screaming for your attention and cause you to feel like being on the run. You will realize when they can come home again, you will reach the destiny of inner peace. This is just what I would like to bring awareness to. There's this tiny, beautiful space inside you that does know. And it doesn't need to look like a kingdom or a massive castle, but it needs the trust in yourself to take one tiny step at a time. And the belief that underneath all the noise and pain and brokenness, there's this beautiful true core of yours that knows who you are. And this core of yours also knows the steps you need to take And maybe not all of them all at once, but the very next tiny step, and then the next step, and the step after that one will follow, taking one step at a time and holding on to this light which will guide you further. Sometimes when we allow ourselves to let go of the masks and look reality in the eyes, at first we might shiver and shake because the challenges appear to be too big. But at the same time, when we see it for what it is and we realize that we hold the power in our hands to alter it, we know we can do it little by little. Stitching the broken parts of ourselves together, one piece at a time, will be the hero's journey. The hero gets lost and faces the inner demons and dragons. Overcoming the inner hurdles and obstacles will become your step into the knighthood. And while you are on this journey, you might not even notice which parts might have returned, or where you are even at within this journey, but your inner state will change with every step. Because the labels, the box you feel encased in, is slowly dissolving, as you're not focusing on it much longer, knowing it is not the true you. All the labels, all the facets of identity are not the real you. There's a greatness underneath, which you haven't even allowed yourself to see. Underneath all this brokenness is a pearl growing, which just waits for you to be discovered. Do not abandon this preciousness inside you, only because it might not be an easy journey. Find the willpower and strength to take the first step. And the very first step is to be completely honest with yourself and notice the state you find yourself in. Seeing the inner brokenness for what it is, a call from lost pieces to return home. But at the same time clearly seeing how the true you is beyond it. It is not bound by it, not limited by it. It just is invited to overcome it. And it requires you to take one step at a time, and you can do it. Take the inner torch and take the first step.